everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. I'm broadcasting here from the steps of where I live in the southwest part of Las Vegas, Summerlin South. It is a beautiful, gorgeous day, a little bit on the cooler than normal side. I believe the temperatures are in the low 60s, but we should be getting 80s pretty soon. So let's talk about some of the top stories right now about Julian Assange. Now, I believe his asylum case ended in Ecuador, so I believe authorities arrested him. And again, I don't really trust a lot of these people. I don't know, Assange could be controlled opposition, but nevertheless, it seems like the reason they're putting heat on him is because he helped defeat Hillary Clinton in 2016. And of course, there was a time where the left were really favorable of him, but not so much, because now we've seen what's happened with the Democrats and how they've changed in the last several years. And it seems like Assange is a guy who gets support from both sides. Even the Green Party actually supports. Caesars Entertainment is planning to be bought out by some other investors. I believe Carl Icahn has a share of it, and they're thinking about selling it to certain other wealthy people. And there's a lot of speculation that they're thinking about splitting up the company. Now, in case if you guys don't know, about 10 years ago, 2005, I believe, Harris and Caesars decided to make a merger, and they also bought out Planned Hollywood. And what this could mean is that there could be other buyers, the company could split. Now, if the company splits, this is likely mean that there will probably be more competition, so prices could fall down, and maybe we could see some free parking back at some of their hotels. Now, I don't know exactly about that. I do believe that, of course, what's the question going to be about for Sora and Tom Jerkin, which I've seen him many times, actually, at the LVCVA. Harry Reid made a visit to UNLV. The university is such a kiss whatever with Harry Reid, and they still continue to promote him, just like the media does. And they were talking about, oh, well, you know, we have to stop hate, anti-Semitism. Based on what I know, I see him as a con man, basically one of the worst senators probably in American history, probably the worst politician the state's ever had. And speaking about anti-Semitism, your party is supporting Muslims who have hatred against Jews, all right? And by the way, you are supporting an immigration policy that's creating division, that's creating conflict, that's creating a lot of issues right now in our legislature. I mean, look, our state is very divided among whites and minorities particularly, because, and all these laws that are coming along the way. So this is causing racial dissension. And when we are having hatred and anxiety, it's not necessarily among the minorities, it's against politicians like you. But you don't want to expose that because you are messing up the truth. By the way, I believe there's a chance that we can see Harry Reid later on this month, and Al Gore is going to be visiting, so stay tuned. I'm going to have more updates about that to come. And believe it or not, of course, the largest pump up of Harry Reid was, of course, the Culinary Workers Union. I believe they are a hate organization. Now, Henderson Chief of Police, the African-American woman, has been fired. So a lot of people say, well, she got fired because of the color of her skin and she's a woman, but I just think that there's been a lot of scandals. And keep in mind, though, that the city of Henderson, I believe the mayor, kind of shake things up to make the previous chief get fired. So I think you should look into that. So anyway, they're always going to be playing the race card. And speaking of the race card, believe it or not, the Clark County School District, one of the trustees, Danielle Ford, talked about, oh, well, colored people. And it's just so insane how these minorities react when you don't use the right speech. It just offends them. I mean, just give it up. You know what she meant. But this just shows you that diversity, depending on how it's done, it's not working. It is failing in many ways. And I guess all this mixing and everything, it's just really not working, folks. So I guess diversity, which in the long run, which is replacement, is having a lot of issues. The light rail project that was being planned, I made a video about this about 2-3 years ago on Maryland Parkway. It has been sort of changed, and the commissioners, which I did speak to Mr. Gibson, the former mayor of Henderson, they have considered implementing bus rapid transit. Now, the issue with bus rapid transit is that it takes a lane. So if you drive on it, you could get a citation. But unlike light rail, if it fails, it's easier to remove. And light rail certainly costs a lot more. But you know my take on transit. It has to be cheaper and faster than car travel, especially rideshare programs. But nevertheless, of course, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, the Boring Company, Elon Musk, plans to build a people mover system, so maybe they could extend that to other parts of the valley, including the outer areas, which I am planning to really build my project. So, and not to mention, there's also a lot of plans and speculation that they want to ban Steve Wynn. Now, this guy has inspired me a lot, but personally, I'm not really sure about his allegations. Most likely, I have a feeling that they are false, that they are misleading, certainly because he stood up, I guess, against the establishment, who knows, but we'll have to really see. It's interesting that all of a sudden all his allegations from the last 40 years just jumped right in front of him. And that is all I have to point out. Thank you so much. Yesterday I had such an interesting conversation with Commissioner Tick Sickerbloom over a planning and community meeting out in the Hollywood Recreational Center, but or not. I also just found out that the Trump administration plans on taking a lot of the migrants and putting them into sanctuary cities. So we're going to see how that turns out, because finally their services, medical care, school, cities, traffic are going to be overwhelmed and they're going to be punished. So it's going to be pretty interesting if the Trump administration dumps these migrants into Malibu, California, or perhaps Napa, where Nancy Pelosi lives. But keep in mind, depending on how you look at it, some people still see that Las Vegas is a sanctuary city. So be careful what you hope for, because if they dump them here, we have to see how this really plays out. Now, if they dump them here, watch me and I'll really protest. Subscribe, stay tuned. I will have more updates to come. Take care.